Hi folks, Michael Camp here. It's time for Religious Fact Check number 6. No, Jesus, the early church, and the early followers of Jesus did not believe in or teach the penal substitutionary atonement theory. Okay, that's a mouthful. What is this? Well, this theory is the belief that on the cross, Jesus took the place of humanity in order to appease God's wrath over humanity's sin. It's the prevailing view among the Western Church and in evangelicalism today. Supposedly, Jesus was a substitute for us on the cross, who took the punishment that we deserved. Since humanity has original depravity, we are all basically bad and destined for hell. God just can't forgive humans for their sinful nature. His justice supposedly demands more. A payment or atonement must be made, and Jesus dying on the cross is that payment. Moreover, each individual person must accept this atonement in order to be saved from the punishment they deserve and from eternal damnation. So, what's wrong with this? Well, aside from sounding absolutely horrible, that God by necessity must kill someone in order to forgive, there are 4 major problems with this view. Number 1, this is a violent transactional view of salvation. God can't forgive unless a transaction takes place, and unless an innocent victim is tortured and murdered by a vile Roman method of execution. This is belief in divine violence or violent sacrificial religion. Number 2, this isn't true forgiveness or mercy. It's conditional forgiveness. God can't forgive unless Jesus is violently sacrificed and unless individuals believe this was done for them. Yet true mercy and forgiveness is unconditional. This is not. Number 3, this view makes God out to be like a divine child abuser. He can't forgive people unless he arranges for his own son, Jesus, to be killed. And finally, most importantly, number 4, this view is historically inaccurate. The early church didn't have this view. Penal substitutionary atonement didn't even arise until the 11th century under an archbishop named Anselm. Anselm proposed the satisfaction theory of atonement, that Jesus' death on the cross satisfied the debt owed God for humanity's sin. Very similar. It appeased an angry God. This was an idea meant to replace another inaccurate theory of atonement called the ransom theory. And that theory is that Jesus' death paid a ransom to the devil in order to free us. And then later still, in the 16th century, this penal substitutionary atonement theory was fully developed by John Calvin and the Protestant reformers, and they added that Jesus received the punishment that we deserve. So what is the most orthodox or original view of the meaning of the cross? Well, it's one that the Eastern Church still holds today, largely. It's not about Jesus dying to appease God's wrath over our sin. It's Jesus dying by non-violently facing humanity's wrath, and then God still forgiving the perpetrators of this violent act, demonstrating a transformational principle. When the worst of humanity tortures and murders an innocent victim who teaches universal love for all humanity, and God still forgives the guilty for that act of grave injustice, then there's no need for any type of transactional sacrifice, and there never was a need for one. The social scientist Rene Girard came to this conclusion after comparing ancient sacrificial religion to the gospel accounts. The gospels invert the sacrificial mindset. When on the cross, Jesus told God he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Talking about those who accused, judged, condemned, tortured, and executed him. But God forgave humanity even before Jesus went to the cross. How do we know? Because at the cross, God forgave the worst of humanity, even as they tortured and executed his innocent intermediary. There's another theory of atonement that also seems to be true in addition to this one. It's the moral example view, that Jesus provides us an example of how to stand up to corruption and injustice and violence, but do it non-violently. He did that in both his life and in his death. Okay, what have we learned? The bottom line is that penal substitutionary atonement was not the view of the cross that Jesus or the early church taught. It's a disturbing view that makes God out to be a ruthless, violent abuser who can't forgive anyone unless his divine, violent justice is met. Finally, the original view of the cross is transformational. It shows us that violent, transactional sacrifice is not necessary to appease a God of love. This God has mercy and forgives because that's his nature, even when facing the worst of humanity's sin. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next Religious Fact Check. If you like these videos, please subscribe and be sure to click the notification icon. Until next time.